What's up, Rivalers, and welcome to the ultimate Jeff the Landshark guide. Jeff is a simple, fun, and cute support character that is great for new players and has one of the most devastating ultimates in the entire game. In this guide, I'll be covering Jeff's combos, playstyles, advanced tips, and more, so whether you're a complete beginner or a high-ranking player, this video is for you. Jeff is a strategist that specializes in consistent healing and utility. He has a healing beam on his left click, he has a damaging AoE burst shot on his right click, his E is a bubble that serves as a health pack, his shift lets him swim around faster and up walls, and his ultimate is this devastating AoE swallow that lets you scoop up teammates and enemies. So let's go over each ability and teach you how to efficiently use each one. His left click is called Joyful Splash, which is this constant beam of healing, and while it does have some arc to it, it has infinite range, which lets you spray heals on your teammates from a safe distance. Wiggle your cursor around when firing into your team to make sure everyone's getting healed. I know it looks a little goofy, but trust me, it works. This healing beam also penetrates through teammates, so as long as your team is stacked in a line, you'll be healing all of them. Jeff's right click, Aqua Blast, is a long range offensive shot that does really good damage to whoever you directly hit, and a tiny bit of AoE damage to any enemies around them. Also, if you have a Luna Snow on the team, it activates Jeff's team up ability, which grants his right click extra damage and an AoE, which can be really disrupting to enemy teams and help your team land their shots. You should always be focusing primarily on healing, but in a pinch, Jeff can really hold his own in damage. His E ability is these healing bubbles which serve as instant health packs. You can throw them on the ground or directly onto your teammates. These bubbles also grant the recipient increased healing from all sources, including your left click's heal, health pack heals, and any other heals your team produces. The bubbles have travel time though, so there is a learning curve when it comes to throwing them directly onto your teammates. You'll have to lead your bubble shots by a lot to hit moving allies. This can have a learning curve, but it's super important to learning Jeff. During a team fight, you'll want to try to throw a bubble to every active participant on your team, as it increases the effectiveness of your left click. You can tell who's already been bubbled by the yellow border around their HP bars. Once everyone's been bubbled, you can cycle targets with your left click and keep everyone topped off. You can have a maximum of 6 bubbles on the ground at once, so when your team is holding a choke point, you can create a home base of sorts by stocking up some bubbles for your teammates to pick up when they need them. You know, assuming they're paying attention. You'll always want to keep at least 2 bubbles available for emergencies because they're also a great way to keep yourself alive when getting dove by throwing them at your feet. You'll want to throw some bubbles to yourself and your teammates when coming out of base at the beginning of a round because these bad boys also grant movement speed, so your team will get to the point slightly faster than the enemy team. Now, Jeff is a chunky boy and his model and hitbox is essentially just one giant head. So to keep you from getting instantly popped by snipers, he has a passive that lets him take reduced damage from headshots. He can still be a very vulnerable character though, so his third ability allows him to swim underwater, gaining a self-heal and increased movement speed. This ability lets you get out of base quicker, reposition quickly, gain high ground to keep those heals coming, and even hide when things get too scary. Comboing your swim with a self bubble also makes you very hard to KO versus dives. However, be warned that when using this ability, you do not count as being on the objective, so be careful if you're the only one on the point. Jeff's ultimate is one of the most powerful tools in the entire game. He becomes invulnerable and can freely fly around to target a giant circle on the map, which after a brief delay, he sucks up everyone in the circle, including enemies and allies, which he can then swim around with them in his mouth and spit out at will. The enemies in his mouth take damage over time, and allies are completely invulnerable while inside him. You can also spit out only the enemies or only the allies, so this ultimate basically gives Jeff the ability to decide who lives and who gets KO'd. You want to use this ultimate to target immobile healers, take out an enemy's tanks, remove enemies off of the objective, and just overall take key enemy players off the board to create a numbers advantage. You've also got the option of just throwing whoever's in your mouth off a ledge, but be warned, this strat is no good against flyers or anyone with a vertical dash like Rocket, Thor, or Hela. For those, you've got another option of just walking off the ledge yourself and bringing up to 3 people down with you. Always be aware of the map you're playing and be thinking about where the closest ledge is when looking for Jeff ults, because you can still be KO'd after using your ult. Here's some really juicy Jeff ult tech. You can hold right click while selecting your target zone to shift the camera to a bird's eye view and force Jeff's ult to target the highest point in the environment. This is a nice trick for scooping enemies off of high ground, and it even teleports Jeff to this high point after the scoop. Another advanced Jeff ult tip. Sometimes there are small railings or walls preventing you from walking off a ledge with enemies inside. So what you can do is use your swim ability to climb a nearby wall and jump off anyways. Now let's talk about some of Jeff's strengths as a hero, other than being extremely cute. Now ideally your team has 2 strategists, but Jeff can function as a solo healer if need be. Jeff's left click gives him a constant stream of healing, and his bubble health packs allow him to heal allies elsewhere without actually having to focus them, essentially making Jeff 2 healers in 1. Jeff also has 2 ways to heal himself, which currently no other healer can do. He's also very good versus dive characters as long as he isn't blown up too quickly. Just plop some bubbles at your feet and use your swim ability to go into evasive maneuvers. The speed boost from both these abilities will have you zooming. Jeff's main strength is just how many forms of utility he brings. He has tons of heals, he increases the strength of heals, he has speed ups to get himself and his team to the objective faster, he has a slow, and his ultimate is the longest form of hard CC in the entire game if you can stay alive for the full duration. Now let's talk about some of the weaker areas of playing Jeff the Landshark. Jeff has lots of healing tools, but some of that is going to be dependent on your teammates, as he can have a hard time landing both of his heals on mobile characters, and especially allied flyers. Jeff players will have to learn to read the movements of their teammates and learn to lead your shots on both your left click and your bubbles, or else you risk leaving a lot of potential heals on the table. And while Jeff does offer very consistent healing over time, he lacks the burst healing that characters like Adam Warlock or Mantis can offer. If an ally is in danger of getting KO'd quickly, Jeff may struggle to keep them alive compared to Adam's instant healing ability. Jeff's bubbles also require careful placement and awareness of where teammates are positioned, and the awareness of teammates themselves. In chaotic fights, allies may not have the time to walk over bubbles or even notice them. Also, Jeff's ultimate is a teamfight game changer, but it requires him to stop providing heals to his teammates, and it can very easily result in Jeff getting KO'd himself if you're biting off more than you can chew. You can also accidentally disrupt your own teammates' plays or leave them without a frontline or healers if you're not careful who you scoop. Now let's talk about some synergies. Jeff pairs up very well with Luna Snow, as she grants him his team up ability, which gives him some extra damage and more importantly, AoE slows on his right click, which can help teammates land headshots and ultimates much easier. Luna also brings team-wide AoE heals, which Jeff does not have, so they make an excellent healing duo. Also, Jeff's ultimate can be comboed efficiently with most allied ults, since once you've scooped them up, you can easily toss them into Scarlet ult, Iron Man ult, and more. Feel free to get creative with Jeff's ult, as it is a really unique tool to combo with. Jeff also has a team up with Groot, letting him jump on his back and receive reduced damage. However, while cute, this team up is a little bit of a noob trap, since it removes your ability to freely reposition, and unlike Rocket, you can't heal yourself while you're on top of Groot as Jeff. You can also still get hit with CC abilities such as Spider-Man's pull, and you generally just don't want to position where Groot wants to position. So the best way to utilize this team up is when you're getting dove, you can quickly snap on and off as Groot as an evasive maneuver. Jeff is a very simple character that's great for new players and has just enough depth to keep you coming back for more. He has very consistent heals and an absolutely game-changing ultimate. So be sure to stay behind your team, but not too far. Maintain high ground and line of sight to keep those heals coming, and save 2 bubbles for yourself. If you follow these instructions, you'll be swimming your way towards a high win rate on Jeff in no time. Let me know which hero you want to see a guide on next down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one, Rivalers.